Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Colorado, we need to talk. We need to talk about Senate Bill 3, which started off as an assault weapon ban and is now morphed into something, well, we're going to have to break it all down. But I have learned a couple things in watching this brouhaha occur out there in Colorado. Number one, your governor has way too much power as it relates to the legislative process. Apparently, you guys don't understand the separation of powers around there too much. Number two, you got a bunch of nut jobs in your legislature, and you also got a bunch of people who are pretty spineless in your state legislature. And number three, you got some citizen groups out there in Colorado that are absolute warriors. I mean, they will fight like holy hell to preserve the rights. Some of the best civilian organization I've seen out there. So kudos to the Rocky Mountain gun owners and all the other fantastic citizen groups out there that have just been pounding on the state legislature. But guess what? Yeah, in some kind of an agreement, they decided that they're going to water down the bill here to make it more palpable, I guess, to Colorado residents everywhere. But in doing so, what you actually did was you added another unconstitutional element. We'll explain all of it in just a moment. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about Colorado's ugly gun ban gets a lot uglier. Okay, America, and in particular Colorado, we are talking for the second time now about Senate Bill 3, which started off as a complete ban on semi-automatic rifles and many other firearms. There was great debate as to whether or not it banned handguns in general, especially semi-automatic handguns that accept detachable magazines. It was the opinion of Washington Gun Law with the first draft of the bill that it did not do that there was a very clear exception for that. The amended bill, however, has all sorts of language which puts Washington Gun Law in a position of, I don't really know what the hell's going on here, okay? What I do know is going on is very clear, that somehow or another, the governor decided that this bill needed to be watered down a little bit, make it a little bit more tolerable to Colorado residents everywhere. And so instead of just flat out banning the purchase or sale of semi-automatic rifles, what we normally call them, something that Colorado wants to call them specified semi-automatic firearms, what the governor has convinced the state legislature to add into the statute is an ability, a carve-out if you would, so that individuals could in fact continue to purchase these firearms. But Colorado, if you want to be on that short list of the cool people who could still buy those firearms, you're going to need to go through mandatory training, or translation, you're going to need to get a permission slip from your state government before you can exercise a constitutional right. So when I say that what they've done is just added another unconstitutional element to this bill, well, that's exactly what they've done. Okay, before I get into the mandatory training, let me tell you where the confusion now is coming on the semi-automatic handgun. Because as we know, in the original bill, there was a clear exception where this particular type of firearm would not be deemed a specified semi-automatic firearm. That seemed to very clearly exempt commonly held, commonly possessed handguns that we use for everyday carry from this ban. But then, with all the crap that was amended in here, we find a new section, and this is yet another definition now of a specified semi-automatic firearm. And it would include a gas-operated semi-automatic handgun with a detachable magazine. Now, let's remember that recoil is always the product of expanding gases. And therefore, any type of semi-automatic handgun which accepts a detachable magazine is using the gas-operated system and the recoil that comes from the gas expanding to cycle the firearm. So you have contradictory terms now within this actual bill. But when it comes to the training requirements that you're going to need to go through Colorado, this is all going to come down to whether or not you have a hunter safety certificate. Now, many of you may own large swaths of firearms and are not engaged in the act of hunting because it's just not your cup of tea. There may be other individuals who only have firearms useful for hunting, and they very well may have a hunting safety certificate. But this is how it's going to work, Colorado, if this becomes law. If you want to purchase a semi-automatic rifle or one of these scary specified semi-automatic firearms, you will need to complete at least the hunter safety course plus an additional basic firearm safety course, which takes 4 hours to complete. Now, if you don't have a hunter safety certificate and you don't want to go out and get one because hunting is just not really your cup of tea, well, then you can forego that requirement, but you will need to take a 12-hour extended firearm safety course. And oh, by the way, whichever course you take, there's a test at the end. And unless you score 90% on that test, you're not going to get certificate of completion. Oh, and by the way, even if you do successfully complete the course, yeah, they have up to 72 hours to issue your certificate of completion, which means, Colorado, when you think about it, you're adding another 72 hours to a statutory waiting period, aren't you? So I get that there's all types of political gamesmanship going on in Colorado, and somehow or another your governor, who appears to be like an active member of the legislature, is working with the Democrats to try to find a more tolerable version of an unconstitutional piece of legislation so that perhaps less Colorado residents will flip out about it. What they have done is they have essentially said, hey, listen, we'll put a carve out here for you. We won't subject you to this unconstitutional ban. All you need to do is be subjected to an unconstitutional licensing requirement. That is the current status of Senate Bill 3, which is why this very ugly gun ban has just gotten a lot uglier. All right, Colorado, listen. You got one heck of a fight on you. And if you are thinking that this could pass, this might be the time to stock up right now. Speaking of stocking up, I tell you what you probably all ought to do is you probably all ought to stock up there with the Rocky Mountain gun owners. They have been absolutely knocking heads in for years now. And once again, they are leading the charge trying to preserve your inalienable rights. We're going to put a link for them down below. Show them some love. If you got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights in Colorado, you're on the verge of having none here pretty soon. You should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That information's down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, you click on that link right there and tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, the ability to do all of that is right down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.